All right, welcome back. This is still the Polity reaching you live from Abuja. I've been joined now by Barrister Kelechi Anwu. He is a legal practitioner and an analyst. He joins me now to do some justice to some issues, national issues affecting the polity as of today, September 4th, 2023. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you. Well, before we delve into some very recent issues, I'd just like to get your thoughts. The NBA conference held last week and there were a lot of developments there. So let's quickly have a recap. What did you make of the event? I believe you were there. What did you make of it? I know about 17,000 lawyers were said to have attended, and you make up what we call the judiciary, so to speak. The lawyers are the ones who actively participate every day, and so people are interested in what goes on in that sphere. So what's your analysis, so to speak?
Yes, the NBA conference is like an annual ritual for us lawyers, and sometimes non-lawyers are allowed to register and attend. And it's like where lawyers gather, discuss, and then fine-tune political issues and even social issues as it were, and also profile solutions to most of the emerging issues that are within the nation. This year's own wasn't a different idea. It was just like every other year where lawyers gather for a whole week. It is now. It has so many sections. It has the educative section. It has the social section. It's kind of a situation where lawyers gather to discuss both of social, political, and even fitness issues. Because at the start of the NBA conference, it first started with a workout, an aerobic workout. So from there we went for church service. From there we had our technical sessions, and after technical sessions we also had parties where people can unwind and have fun. We also had several, the climax of it was the AGM. That's the annual general meeting of the NBA, when NBA discuss matters as it pertains to them. So this year, at the end of the AGM, issues relating to lawyers and their welfare and issues that lawyers will need to address to the nation are put into a communique and raised to the general public. And at that annual general meeting, there were also things that were cropped up, like constitutional amendment of the NBA constitution. It did not see the light of the day. Most lawyers opposed it, so it did not see the light of the day. So we said let it remain as it were.
I believe is that the one where there were talks about the vice president automatically taking over from the president?
So the ascension kind of polity, it's not favorable to so many persons, and so many persons kicked against it. Like our elections are held every two years, so we said let's stick to that pattern. We hold our elections, and whoever wants to contest, who wants to hold any political position within the NBA, should be able to contest. We do not want to have a career politicians where the only thing they do is you wait for ascension and then you ascend from this one to this one. If you wish to contest, you put yourself up for contest and people will elect you. If you're not worthy, people will not elect you. So we do not want to see what is happening in African countries play back in NBA. No, we want a successive government, a government that is elected, not government by succession, a government that is people will ascend into the arenas of politics without doing anything. If you wish to contest, if you wish to lead, you should be able to contest the election.
That's fair enough. It's almost like as though people would now aim for the vice presidential spots because they know they would ascend.
Exactly.
But that being said, one of the things, the more interesting things, is that the conference was sort of opened by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he spoke about how world-class remuneration for judicial officers was one of the ways to curb corruption and so on and so forth. And we also saw the NBA, also reiterate this, that there needs to be an upgrade on remuneration. This has been a long, will I call it a long journey? We've seen this call again and again. What do you think is standing in the way of getting, judges and so on, even the JUSUN, the non-judicial staff, I believe, that are also there? What are the issues, holding back this increase in funds and so on?
And yes, the issue holding back is still the executive. Because if you understand, as much as we have the separation of power where we have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislatures, the executive still plays majorly the part of the rules that happen in governance, and they implement. Now it's not in the place of it's not in the place of the judiciary to start implementing their salary, wages, and structures. As you can see, the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Committee is managed by the executive. Now they draft what is what for whoever that is a salary earner in Nigeria. And you also understand the bulk of distributing these resources and payments are being done by the executive. It is the executive that distribute money from the CBN, from allocations, from the Ministry of Finance, from the Accountant General, from everywhere that has to do with the finance. It's still the executive. So you see, the bulk of implementation still lies with the executive. It is the executive who has been playing a carrot stick approach to the judiciary in a way to hold them down and probably milk them the more. But if the executive was a bit serious about the remuneration of these judicial officers, it could have, and it should have been able to implement these things. These are feasible things that should have been done a very long time. It's just for you to give a directive and follow the directive. But today they talk about it as if they are doing it, but unfortunately it is not being done.
Well, is there any such thing as truly an independent judiciary? I don't know how to the specifics around it, but I know even in America, somehow I believe the president is the one who appoints the Supreme Court judges or thereabouts, and we see this thing where there's usually debates about who the president will pick so that the person fits their own either it's Democratic or Republican views. Take for instance, we saw the issues on abortion, the issues on gun control. It's always believed that when the president is making his choice, he decides who best aligns, and this is a very advanced democracy. So I'm wondering, do you believe there is really any framework that would, or how far do you think it can go?
Yes,
that will get that independence for judicial?
We have that framework. Like in Nigeria, the appointment, if not that we do not follow our constitution. In Nigeria, the constitution specifically provides that a judge shall be appointed by the governor or the president on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council. So the NJC have to make that without that recommendation by the NJC, that the judge is not supposed to appoint a president, or a governor is not supposed to appoint Suomoto. That president is not supposed to appoint by himself arbitrarily. He must, because he might not be a lawyer. Even if he's a lawyer, he does not know the right peg to peg into the hole.
So who is he supposed to consult?
So he's supposed to consult the National Judicial Council. The Constitution specifically provides that the recommendation shall be from the National. Okay, if the National Judicial Council says, okay, Mr. A, you have to appoint Mr. A, he's qualified. Now the president only pronounces what has been recommended by him.
But the word is still recommend. It's not so it's not really appointment. So to
yes,
say.
They recommend. If they do, if such recommend, whoever they recommend to you, you can ask for numbers, and they recommend certain numbers to you. But by that recommendation, the Constitution have already given them the power to choose who to send to you. And
but why do you think that is even in the equation? Why isn't it just an issue where the Judicial Council simply appoints? Why do they need to go through the executive. Do you think this might be part of it? Because if you take a look at the legislature, they have pretty much no legal, will I say, connection to the executive. I don't think there is any single. I know how it plays out when it comes to politics, but otherwise, I don't believe the Constitution says the president appoints the chief whip or the House of Rep speaker. These things are left to them.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you, Netly, because those are the amendments we are seeking to look at. Because if we are going to have an independent judiciary, if we are going to have an independent arm, if we are going to have a full separation of power, the funding, the appointments, and everything that has to do with even the execution of projects within the judiciary should be handled by the judicial arm. So the judicial arm should be able to cater for itself directly, and their funds should come directly. It's part of the amendment that we're proposing.
Directly from
the CBN.
Okay.
From the CBN, and you understand the CBN is partly independent on its own. So it can come directly from the CBN, just like every other state allocation comes. It comes and they take care of their matters by their own hands. So we don't have to go through this clog of who appoints and who recommends. It will now be between the National Judicial Council, who knows the lawyers that are into practice, the lawyers that are doing well in practice, and the lawyers that fits that role of being appointed to the bench, and not just any lawyer simply because he's the grandson or the godson or the sisters or brothers or wife of a sitting judicial officer. He's been appointed. We are seeking for that point where we have persons who are appointed on the basis of their merit, not on the basis of them knowing anywhere.
All right, that's fair enough. We'll see how some of these things start to play out in terms of amendment, like you said. But we'll delve more into general issues. Let's just round up in a couple of minutes on the NBA conference aftermath. During the conference, we saw Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Professor Mike Ozekome. He spoke on a panel where on the issue of the impact of maritime security, threats on the Nigerian economy, Nigerian Navy perspective. And he apportioned blame to the Nigerian Navy, traditional rulers, the EFCC, saying that they were complicit in theft of crude oil in Nigeria. I don't know, what do you make of this statement?
Yes, there has been several postulations as to what it takes to steal crude oil, and then in such large quantity. And in such theories, you cannot take out the government input, the government hands in it. So it's not something. It's not like you going to pick out a piece of paper or you steal yam. It's for somebody to steal crude oil and crude facilities. You must come with a very large vessel, and these large vessels have to go through the seas, and our seas are manned by Navy operatives. So how is it even possible? Do they fly on the air? Do they disappear? Of course they don't. They are human beings, and they fly on our water bodies. So if there are any complicit, it should be the Navy that should hold that responsibility, because it cannot happen without the Navy being around. Now, in the past couple of days, we have had conflicts between the private securities, the Tintata securities, and the Navy, including a few days ago, where it was reported widely by the media that they had a clash as to who should make an arrest and who was shielding criminals or oil thefts. So you get to see these things because there is no decisive action from whoever that is in charge as to persons that are involved. If there were consequences for these things, at the time we've spoken on this program about these persons and the institutions that we have. If our institutions are being sincere and they have the willpower to go after these oil thefts, and if you look at it, the amount of money we lose every day on daily basis, weekly, monthly, yearly, on this thing is something that can generate enough fund for our dying economy. If it is something, if those crude oil are sold through the right channel, meaning it brings in more cash inflow, it brings in more forex into our economy. We don't have to look at scamper for hard currencies, and because these elements deal with it in their own way, we are now making individuals rich. Persons who engage in this poor act get richer, and government is very complacent about it. They do not care. So if they cared, they would have taken a decisive action against these people.
Do you think these forces are too big for the government to handle?
There is no force that is too big to handle for any government. It's just for a willpower. If the government is not benefiting, they will handle it. But there are persons, as it stands, it seems that there are persons in the government who benefit from the rot. So you cannot eat while you're talking. It's a very bad table manner. So as it stands, they do not have that moral compass. They do not have that moral will to take that stand and wielding the fledged hammer.
All right, that's fair enough. A lot of stuff still happened at the NBA conference. We saw, is it the treasurer of the association accusing the president of, sidelining her and not involving her in planning and so on. And there's been some controversy attached to the NBA president's name, but I guess maybe we won't want to delve into that a lot. But we also saw, I believe, comments about, the judiciary and moving the nation forward. Particularly, we saw some on security. Talking about Malam Nuhu Ribadu. He urged collaboration of relevant agencies in curbing insecurity. Now, something that happened during that NBA conference was the performance. It seems like a small thing, but performance of a musician named Portable, which led to some lawyers reportedly walking out. So to relate that to the issue of security, over the weekend or over the week, we saw the EFCC bring up an ambassador, so to speak, a skit maker, what's her name, Ade herself, who is actually under investigation and has been taken to court by the EFCC. The same thing we saw with the NDLEA and the musician Naira Marley, who has a history of substance abuse. So the question I'm really trying to get here is, in the cause of fighting security or trying to tackle vices, the use of these persons as ambassadors, do you think it's sending the right message?
It is not sending the right message. You not settle issues by technically avoiding them. Now, over the times we've seen our security agencies take the wrong footing. It's very wrong for persons to bring. We joke a lot in the country, and it's really telling on our policies and programs. Certain persons should not be brought in for certain programs. It goes to show. It goes to the root of the image of what you project. If you are projecting, take for instance, if you are fighting terrorism and Osama bin Laden is your brand ambassador, how does it make? Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Now, if you are also fighting drugs and the drug baron is your ambassador, it makes mess of your image. It makes you complicit of the policies you're trying to implement, and the people who will not take it so serious. It might not go further than it is. Now, I am saying there are much more persons that should have been engaged into that thing. Much more persons who people who have no skeleton on their cupboard that should have been engaged for this ambassadorial thing and such things. But if we keep bringing people that have skeletons on their cupboard for such things, it does not stay well for the image and the programs that we intend to implement.
What about the NBA conference and the performance? Do you think it was a big deal?
It was a very big deal.
Was it what lawyers working out?
It was what every lawyer working out. In fact, it was, most of us did not like the arrangement. Yes. If you really look at, NBA is a solemn organization. The law practice itself is a solemn organization. As much as we want to unwind, we should do it in a much more decorous manner, in a much more organized manner. We have beautiful musicians that sing very well, and not NBA has grown beyond the Raz lifestyle, the kind of lifestyle that tells that you look mad, or you are going to look mad, that you're crazy. It doesn't. NBA has overgrown to that such level. Now there are beautiful musicians within the country, some of which are lawyers. I'll give you an example. Fowles is a lawyer. The Cavemen, one of them is a lawyer, and he went to my callmate, went to the same law school. So we have so many other lawyers. We have even upcoming musicians that are lawyers. We have other entertainers that are lawyers, like the guy that anchored, the MC that anchored that program, the Timi Agbaje. He's a lawyer and he was there in the program. So if they deemed it fit to bring Timi Agbaje as an MC and a hype man, why not bring in some other persons who tally to the programs of lawyers, and not bring in someone who people term Uju Eleba Spider-Man. And in fact, he makes his appearance makes mess of the entire process and the entire judiciary. One is that you have now placed the judiciary and the law system on the pedestal of craziness, of which that is not what we represent. We represent a very solemn people. We represent people with principles. Now, don't also forget, a week before that, a month before that program, Portable was in prison. Yes, he was in custody for an act that he was arrested by the police. So how do you reconcile the two? Bring in somebody straight away from prison and then you throw him into the NBA. So there are no other musicians who have a clear record that you could bring into the program. Yes, I do not doubt that he has a very veritable skill and talent in his own way. But his music is for every music have its where it should be played.
But the theme, I believe, for the concert was unbarred. Do you think that's informed that decision?
Yes, as much as you're unbarring, you still retain your prestige as a lawyer. There are certain things you do not come simply because you are unbarring and get drunk like people would get on normal parties and misbehave and assault people like people would ordinarily do in other parties. No, you must do so cautiously. You must party cautiously. So within those, you must party within the confine of respective rights that are within those places. So you must be conscious of every right that are within the party arena, and even the ones that are not there. So you should bear in mind that, okay, I am partying, but I represent a certain principle. That is what it is.
Right, that's fair enough. In terms of maintaining that, will I call it the image, we also maybe take a look at some politicians. We have a lot of lawyers who are politicians who end up doing some things that are not the best. But that being said, let's end on this note for the NBA issue. I'd like your takeaways. When we take a look at the sum total of everything, there were different discussions held. We saw lawyers airing their views, speaking on national issues, different issues, and so on and so forth. So I'd like to get your key takeaways, what you think that we should really take away from the entire conference, because when lawyers gather, like I said before, it's something that we have to take a look at and take lessons from their congregation. We even saw during the election cycle, the presidential candidates all had an opportunity to speak in such platforms, and these platforms are really respected. So what are the takeaways you might want to leave us with?
Yes, the lawyers community is a very veritable tool in our nation, and as you can see, there is no organization, there is no every part of human endeavor, every part of human action, every part of human engagement requires legal services and interpretation of law, because our actions and inactions are guided by law and principles of law. So every facet of life is covered by what lawyers can do. So you get to see why lawyers are coming and chipping information ranging from medical, media, human rights, whatever you think of it. A lawyer's input is needed, is necessary, because all those actions are covered by law, and their respective rights as it pertains to whatever they are doing are covered by law, and lawyers are the veritable tool for its engagement. Now, when lawyers come out to speak, they speak with one voice, and because the principles are there, the law is what it is, and it is upon the basis of what the law has provided that the lawyers address the issues and technical surroundings within our society. So events like the MBA conference provides us an opportunity to chip in into the national issues and enlarge the national discussion. Now, in this way, we'll be able to provide our own solution. Don't also forget that I, as a lawyer, and so many other lawyers appear on programs like this, and we share our own opinion and find a way to just speak to power, speak truth to power. So it's something lawyers, not just lawyers, anybody that has the interest of Nigerians, just like we lawyers do, should be able to speak and speak when necessary.
Right, that's fair enough. It's good to hear your thoughts on that. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be delving into the matter of the election tribunal and some other issues. A date has been set. We'll be taking a look at what to expect just a day from now when the final judgment is given by the appeal before perhaps it goes on to the higher courts. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
On Monday, I'll be sending a memo to Federal Executive Council. We need to bring a new idea in terms of road tax infrastructure. We need to look at it. The Nigerian people are not expecting that too much. The expectation is not that much. If you have a road that is passable, a road that is motorable, a road they can use 24 hours, and there is a need to pay, road tax, they will pay it. This is very important. And even where there is money, there are a lot of bureaucratic, issues. We're going to be asking whatever fund that is due to Ministry of Works, send it to Ministry of Works, send auditors to be there. A contractor generating certificate, we know how far we can push the contractor. We can push the contractors to work and they generate certificate, and it takes 3 months for them to be paid. Initially, they were to toll the roads, but the federal government decided to fund it from a number of sources, which means that the road will be available for concession and tolling. We're going to be introducing that to the Federal Executive Council, and if they give directive, not just this road, other roads, because that's the only way we can promptly maintain the roads and then be able to have the road to last. In most of the sections, if we've done 20%, we have 80%, where we bring concrete road pavement on a number of the sections. We may not eliminate asphalt since they have deployed, but over 60% we are going to use concrete pavement, and we overcoat it with 2 inches asphalt. You come back to the same quality, to the same convenience.
Welcome back. This is still the Polity, reaching you live from Abuja. Right now, we'll be delving into the matter of the Election Petition Tribunal. A date has finally been set for the judgment. I'm still in the studio here with Barrister Kelechi Anwo. He is a legal practitioner and an analyst. Let's delve into this issue now. We saw the letter announcing the date by the Chief Registrar Court of Appeal. I'd like to get your first thoughts before we delve into some specifics.
Yes, it's coming at a very veritable time. It's a judgment that has been anticipated for over a time. Nigerians are eager and excited to have a feel of this judgment. Yes, the date has been fixed for 6th, that is the next tomorrow, and we eagerly anticipate that the judgment will be something that will stabilize this country. The entire Nigeria, this is the first time Nigerians are participating actively in the election petition. Now, luckily enough, this time the Court of Appeal has said they will entertain live broadcasts. So glory be to God. I believe we have enough time now to sit wherever we are and listen to the judgment while it is being delivered.
All right. What would you say is the mood of the people? We have the PDP's Atiku Abubakar, the Labour Party's Peter Obi, all coming together seeking a judgment. As a lawyer, it seems like you're a bit more excited to get a resolution and perhaps, like they call it, jurisprudence, broadening it and so on and so forth.
Yes.
But how do you think the people are seeing it?
Yes, the people are eager. I think they are anticipatory because they are uncertain. Everyone is uncertain because no one knows what is written in those papers as judgment. But the most important thing why I'm a little bit relaxed is because I am a lawyer and basically I get to see judgment every day. But as a human being, I am anticipatory. I am I have this anxiety of what will it be? Will it steer the course of this nation right, or will it destabilize the nation? Because the judgment has the propensity to either reaffirm the hope of the people or destabilize what is already the hope. Then don't also forget that we have some germane issues that are coming to court for the very first time, and it will be likely that the court will make pronouncement on them, and this will expand the scope of our jurisprudence. It will expand the scope of our laws, and it will give life to the black letters that has caused controversies in interpretation. So because so many Nigerians have interpreted those letters and words in their own manner, it is now left for the judiciary to say this is what it is. Don't also forget the law is what the judge says it is, nothing more contentious than what the court says it is.
All right, that's fair enough. So when I spoke about the people, I'm sure you're aware the involvement we've been seeing. Particularly, well, I don't want to point any finger so it doesn't seem as though I'm singling anyone out, but there's been this sort of campaign that people call All Eyes on the Judiciary, and they are basically trying to, some are trying to encourage, some are trying to hint, some are trying to nudge the judiciary to the quote-unquote right decision, so to speak. But in the course of doing this, or first of all, what do you make of this campaign? Before we now delve into whatever might have come out of the campaign.
I would not blame anybody who has raised any campaign at this instance, because over time we've seen what we should not have seen in the judiciary. It has been talked about. If we cast our mind back, we could see how a person who did not contest for a position became a Senate president, and a person who did not also contest for a position became a senator, simply by judgments of court. So it has brought so much controversy into the judgment, into the judiciary, that people now feel those courage, those confidence, those excitement that people had on the judiciary are waning down. The hopes are beginning to. Don't also forget, the judiciary is supposed to be the last cage, the last hope. The bar that holds the common man, the guards the common man against hurts and evils of the society. So if that whole bridge of the common man is cut, if it is destroyed, then the hope he has on the judiciary is damned. So now the common man in his own front begins to, in a way, champion that we do not want this hope. We want it to be as it is. We want the confidence to be as intact as it were. We do not want the judiciary being trampled upon, it's somehow part of people raising such advocacy. It's just for them to raise advocacy. It's for the judiciaries to stand firm and decide whatever they want to decide, not according to what they feel is the public policy, but according to what the law is. Because over time, Nigerian judiciary has decided so many things on public policy, of which is not the public policy. We want what the law is. What does our constitution say? Because if you keep making decisions that are in converse with our laws, you put our laws in jeopardy. You put our laws in abeyance. It becomes something made for caricature. So our laws should be upheld to the highest level. That is what people are saying.
Just for clarity, after this is the Supreme Court next, right?
Yes, we have after this now they have 14 days to appeal to the Supreme Court, and upon appeal, immediately the appeal is entered. We wait for another judgment in 60 days.
All right. That being said, I'll read out what a retired judge, Justice Mary Odili, said recently. She says, feeling treated into the 2023 election doesn't justify blackmailing judges, bringing Nigeria down. Now, some persons within that campaign have done some things such as release personal information of judges, pictures of their family members, and so on and so forth. Isn't this going a bit too far? And at the end of the day, does it justify, what they expect? If it's justice that you are seeking, when you end up, threatening or making the judges feel a certain way, doesn't that even, stand the chance of making them or influencing them the wrong way? Because anyone who is threatened, they will feel the need to fight back.
Now, if you agree, the judges are not there to do personal charity. They are not doing charity to anybody. They are not doing charity to Nigerians. They are doing service to the nation. They were not, irrespective of what their emotions are, irrespective of what their sentiments are. They hold a solemn duty to do justice, and justice they must do. So, going beyond justice and holding on to your personal emotions and denigrations, you have gone offline. So they have a solemn duty to uphold justice. And what is justice? Justice is according to what our laws have said, according as to certain subject matters that are brought before you. It is not as if now. Funny thing about the justice system is that as much as you are here and something happens, and such evidence of such things are not brought to your attention in court, even you cannot import your personal knowledge, your personal experience into that thing. Now, let's assume even if you know who stole, you were there when the robbery happened, and you did not come in as a witness, and such witnesses were not called upon to identify the robbers, the judge cannot import his own personal experience to come and decide those cases. Now, narrow it down to the matters at hand. The judges cannot bring in their emotions. We have a law, we have the constitution, we have the electoral act, we have the electoral guideline. These are the laws that guide the elections. So, every decision they reach must be according to those laws that are stipulated. Anything contrary to those things will be calling for things that are not there. You will be deciding, you will be doing an injustice to matters that you should have done justice. So,
but they're also humans. If someone posts pictures of your children, implying that if you do not make a decision a certain way, your family could be hurt, isn't that a form of influencing them? Some of them, could get scared and do what they shouldn't be doing.
No, it should not have been. That's why, at the point of being appointed, you should know that it's a duty to courage. You are faced with both criminals. You condemn criminals and their gangs every day. You condemn innocent and you adjudicate over matters that will keep life and take life. So you should be able to know this is a matter of courage. It's a national sacrifice. So if you are on the right path, it shouldn't feel as a threat for you. But if you are on the wrong path, it becomes threatening. Now, if you know what you do, you go ahead. Like the Justice of the Supreme Court of Kenya would say, people will say, if we do justice, heavens will fall. We will do justice and heaven will not fall. The Supreme Court of Kenya said that when they annulled the judgment of Kenya. Now it is do the justice, and heaven will still not fall. So what holds you from doing justice and interpreting the decisions according to what the laws have said? Do justice according to the law. That's what everyone is asking for. Do not bring in your personal bias. Do not bring in your personal opinion. Do not bring in your personal sentiment and aggrandizement. Do justice according to what the law is. And in the precept of justice, justice need not be done, but manifestly seen as done. It's not when you go and do justice behind closed doors. That is not justice. For you to do justice, it must be manifestly seen as done. The moment, I keep saying it, the moment medias were denied access to that tribunal courtroom.
But they were not really denied access.
They were denied access to cover life. That is something that would have, propagated the judiciary in fact, the media were doing an advert, a free advert to the judiciary. We had the judicial image has been laundered for a very long time that they needed that facelift. They needed that free media advertisement that the media was offering. All they needed to do is come and place your camera, show us on TV for the 180 days that our program was supposed to last. If you had nothing to hide and there was nothing to hide, you're going to do justice, let that justice manifestly be seen as done, not just be doing it. Let it be manifestly seen as done. So now I thank God that they now realize the importance of having Nigerians watch, and that's why they are calling for the live telecast. Now I will be happy if media organizations will key in and open these things to Nigerians. Radios, TVs, let Nigerians in all walks of life. Let us watch it as though we are watching World Cup. This is our own World Cup. It brings so much Nigerians to so much excitement to Nigerians when they see and hear things like this. It fosters their hope in the country. It strengthens them, their belief in the system. So when you bring the system closer to the people, you bring it to their hinterland, you bring it to their hamlet, to their villages. They could see what is happening in Abuja. Now they have that belief that, this country is for us, they think for us. But if we close the doors to Nigerians and only allow it to persons who write, your rights, no matter how much you write, a reported speech is a reported speech. You must add your own or remove some. But if we look at them, even though we are not understanding, so many persons might not understand what is going on, but you're looking at them, you have that confidence. Yes, they know what they are doing. They are doing the right thing. They are for me because I am seeing them and they are seeing me on my television. But if you hide that away, it takes out that confidence that people have. They might not understand what it means, but they're already having this biased mind. Nigerians are already having this biased mind. You do not want us to see what you're doing, even if you're doing the right thing. Let us see it.
Oh, that's fair enough. But how do you think judges can be protected, so to speak? I can't recall the name now, but I recall about 2-3 weeks ago, there was a judge, I believe, who cried out about persons trying to influence decision and so on. How can we begin to protect judges from this?
Justice Azinge.
Yes, and the thing now is, I'm speaking of the situation where the judge is incorruptible. They don't want to do anything outside the law, but they are being pressured and they are being attacked, so to speak.
Now,
who protects them?
Now, we have a system where those judges should also help us. The law profession makes it in a way that we have what we call the disciplinary committee. And the disciplinary committee of the lawyers is one of the functional arms of lawyers. It's not like Nigeria where anything goes. If you misbehave in law, you are facing the disciplinary panel. And no lawyer wishes to ever go to the disciplinary panel. So the judges have a duty to also refer such matters and such occurrences to the disciplinary committee. You can cite anybody, whoever approaches you for such things and talks to you about such things. you have that prerogative to cite such persons for disciplinary action.
That is, if the person is also within the judiciary or a lawyer.
If he's within the judiciary, you cite him. We have also laws that are against bribery and corruption in Nigeria. You cite such persons. If they come in person, upon which medium they have come, cite them, make an example of them. Nobody else will come. And even if people think of coming, they will think it twice. But we need to start making example of people, not just by saying them, but also reveal their identity. Let us know their identity. Make open the channel upon which they have come to give you these bribes. You know, let it not be a media wash. Let us know the right channels. We Nigerians can go after them by our own analysis, and they will call them out. Then if the law refuses to call them out, different programs, writings, TV, radios, they become very, very famous in their own evil deeds. So that way, the next person who thinks of either bribing a judge or bribing anybody will think twice, because even if you have connections all through the prosecuting institution, you do not have connections in all radio and TV stations and even tabloids. So imagine where tabloids carries your name as bribing a judge. It will be there for life. So people will get that message that you do not need to bribe anybody, and they will be afraid to even dare to bribe anybody.
Oh, that's fair enough. We hope to see more of that, because judges are also humans and they need their protection. But let's talk about the substance of what the judgment could be itself. I wonder, when you spoke about policies, about making a decision and this kind of falling and so on and so forth, what are even the outcomes really?
There are 5 issues that have been submitted to the court. 6 actually, 6 against the election of the president. Those of the 6 issues, 1 is that he was not elected by the majority of vote cast. 2 is that he's not qualified on the basis of his educational certificate. The 3rd one is that he's not qualified because he forfeited money for in terms of by reasons of section 137 137 sub 1 paragraph D. Now the 4th one is the dual nomination. The 5th one,
the dual nomination hasn't been resolved.
It has not. It was an obiter in the Supreme Court. It was not properly resolved. So the dual nomination. The 6th one is the non-qualification of the vice president. Yes, if you are saying the dual nomination is intact, also it means the electoral provides for 14 days within which you substitute the person, and there were 21 days where the vice president was substituted with the placeholder. It means there is a question mark on that. So those 5 issues are constitutional issues that must be addressed, and each of them will have an address of law. You know, the Supreme Court, both the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court must give life to these 5 issues that have been enumerated.
All right, but the question now is what could be the outcomes in terms of whatever the court decides, I call it the pronouncement, so to speak. Some persons think about a rerun. Some persons think about an announcement of a new winner. And so on and so forth. What could happen?
There are a few things that would happen in that election that might happen. Now, there are possibilities of not cancelling the election, of declaring the current sitting president, the winner. There are possibilities of disqualifying him. There are possibilities of not disqualifying him and cancelling the entire election. There are possibilities of, now where the president is disqualified, it will now be left within the confines of the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court to define whether each of these persons, by the numbers they've submitted, did they actually get such votes that could qualify them to to be announced the winner. If they have gotten that 25% in 2/3 of the states by the votes they've submitted to the Court of Appeal, now one of them might be announced. But if they do not make up that 25%, this is in a situation where the president is disqualified. If they do not make up that 25% in 2/3, then the Supreme Court can either order for a fresh election or a rerun. Now, if the Supreme Court finds that the election was not conducted according to the Electoral Act and the guidelines, it will order for fresh election, not rerun. But if it finds out that it was conducted, but it was doing not substantial, but now and probably the president has been disqualified, it will go for a run, which will be against the first and second person. If there is a rerun,
reruns can never have 3 people.
It cannot have 3 people. It can just have 2. But if we have a fresh election, the entire 17, if one person is disqualified, will go into the election. That is what it is.
All right, so yeah, it's interesting. But what would that a rerun or a re-election mean, or what do you think it will mean?
It means
in terms of
we go back to the Nigerian Decide. You set up your Nigerian Decide studio. Nigerians will dust their PVC.
Yes, we know.
And go back to their individual polling unit.
Yeah.
Queue up again. This INEC will redistribute the INEC sensitive material.
Those are the questions that I'm really focused on, because the Nigeria Decides you talked about, we know what it costs the company here, KAFTAN TV, to be able to roll out the coverage and all that. So I'm trying to think of the scale. I believe billions were spent on the last election.
It will be.
Where will this money come from?
It will be a price, a sacrifice to the nation.
And who is in charge in the interim?
It will be a sacrifice. Individual. Don't forget, someone like me now, if there is a rerun or a fresh election, I will have to travel all the way from Abuja here back to Ebonyi to go and vote. Now the same thing happens to every other person. These are national sacrifices we individually make. No matter how big it is, no matter how no matter how small the sacrifice may be, it's our individual sacrifices to the nation. And if we are looking to get things working, it's not just coming on TV to say, okay, we want a working Nigeria. We must work out the working Nigeria. And these are sacrifices that we make. That is, it is better we get it right than, okay, flowing in the flurry of our imperfect system. So it is better we get it right and proceed on the right path. That is my own thought about that.
All right, that's fair enough. We'll be watching and waiting and hoping to see what this all does for the country. But I know one thing lawyers are really excited about. Whatever the case, it will broaden or deepen the jurisprudence, as they call it. We'll get answers to some questions that we've been asking, the 25%, and others will finally get to see an end to it all. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's all we take. All right, let's take this call before we end the program. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, top of the afternoon, Mr. Amadi, barrister. Good afternoon. You are on to SMB from Lagos.
All right, Mr. SMB, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you very much. This is a technical issue, but one way or the other, due to what is going on in our country, we must have to say one or two things, even though I'm not a legal practitioner, but with the way and manners things are going on, like Barrister made mention, my worry is, I always say this, when are we going to begin to respect our institutions? That's number one. Because sometimes you look at things the way they are. We have a body, an umpire, which happens to be the entire regulatory body of an election. But in the process, you see our politicians mess up with that process, and at the end of the day, end up in the courts. That's to show you that we don't usually respect our institution. We value individuals than institutions. And in the advanced world, you must have to respect institutions. We must have to. We must have to. And secondly, you ask yourself, if all these things are going on? What happened with that peace committee? Remember, this peace committee make a long process even before the primary election. You understand my point? So sometimes I was kind of, are we for it? Are we for it? And you check out things. Things are very clear that, okay, do this, you are wrong. Do this, you are right. So what we human beings, we usually do things the way we want it. At the end of the day, we end up, making things very complicated. And then all these things, to me, is a waste of time, because all this governance is a time frame. It's a time frame for 4 years, which is almost around 1,440 something days. You understand my point? So if at the end of the day, after 3 years of your tenure, before the last year, you begin processing new election, how are you expect development? How are you going to get that development? So there is need sometimes. I ask myself, is this law not complicating matters for us? You understand? So please, I was thinking this, our policy makers will sit down and do the needful, so that at the end of the day, governance will be Nigerians will be benefiting from the governance. A governor will spend 2 years. The last 3, in the next second, third year, he will begin processing on how he will be re-elected. Likewise, a president. You understand my point?
Yes.
And then you spend 3, 4, 6 months in the court at the end of the day. So what do you expect? So sometimes all these our laws complicate easy matters for us. There is need for the policymakers to sit down and review all these electoral process and do the needful for betterment of this country, for betterment of the governance, for the development, and so on and so forth.
Right.
The world is advancing, but we are still going backwards. That was to my own thinking.
Right.
Thank you very much. I remain SMB from Lagos, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, SMD. It was good to get your call there. Thank you so much. All right, that's where we round off the program for today. We had to take only that call. Next time you can call in to join the program. The Polity reaches you live from Abuja every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Do join us tomorrow for more discussions on politics, governance, and the state of the nation. Have a nice day. I am Amadino Bewe. See you tomorrow.